Ever get the feeling that things are getting a bit louder, a bit more, well, American up here in the true North? It's not just the poutine fries dipped in gravy or the constant reruns of Friends on TV. There's something else, a subtle shift, in the political landscape that's got some folks scratching their heads and others downright worried. We're talking about the potential creep of what some might call Trump culture into Canadian politics. Now, before you start picturing a mini Trump tower popping up on Parliament Hill, let's be clear. This isn't about importing the man himself. It's about the style, the tactics, the rhetoric, and the overall approach to political engagement that became so prominent south of the border during his time in office. Think about it. We've always prided ourselves on being, well, Canadian. Polite, reasonable, consensus-seeking. We like to think we're the antithesis of the boisterous, often divisive, political climate that's become commonplace in the United States. But lately, there's been a nagging feeling that the lines are blurring. You see it in the increasingly polarized debates online, the rise of populist movements echoing some of Trump's key themes, and the growing willingness to engage in personal attacks and misinformation campaigns. Is this just a natural evolution of political discourse in the digital age, or is there something more sinister at play? Are we witnessing a deliberate attempt to import a brand of politics that's fundamentally at odds with our Canadian values? This isn't just an academic exercise. It has real-world implications for the future of our country. If we allow ourselves to be swept up in the tide of polarization and negativity, we risk eroding the very foundations of our democracy. We risk losing our ability to engage in constructive dialogue, to find common ground, and to work together, to solve the challenges facing our nation. And that, my friends, would be a tragedy. So, let's take a closer look at what's happening. Let's examine the evidence, weigh the arguments, and try to understand whether this perceived influence is real, and if so, what we can do about it. This isn't about taking sides or pointing fingers. It's about protecting the Canadian way of life and ensuring that our political discourse remains civil, respectful, and focused on the issues that matter most to us all. We need to ask ourselves some tough questions. Are we truly immune to the allure of populist rhetoric? Are our institutions strong enough to withstand the pressures of disinformation and foreign interference? And are we, as citizens, doing enough to promote informed debate and critical thinking? The answers to these questions will determine the future of our country. It's time to put aside our preconceived notions and engage in a serious, thoughtful conversation about the state of Canadian politics. Because the future of Canada, as a bastion of civility and reason, may very well depend on it. This exploration isn't about demonizing any particular political figure or ideology. It's about understanding the underlying forces that are shaping our political landscape and making informed decisions about the kind of country we want to be. It's about recognizing the potential dangers of unchecked polarization and the importance of preserving our unique Canadian identity. It's about ensuring that our political discourse remains rooted in facts, evidence, and a genuine desire to find common ground. So, buckle up, grab a double-double, and let's dive into this fascinating and vitally important topic. We've got a lot to unpack, and the stakes are higher than you might think. Let's see what's going on, eh? Now, pour yourself a Tim Hortons and let's chew over some history, eh? It's not like political divisiveness sprouted in America overnight like some kinda genetically modified corn. These things have roots, often reaching way back. Think about the Reform Party in the 90s, with its folksy appeal and promises of shaking things up. Preston Manning wasn't exactly channeling Trump, mind you, but there was a similar undercurrent of frustration with the established elites and a sense that ordinary folks weren't being heard. That discontent was real, and it tapped into something powerful. Then you got to consider the rise of social media. Before, if you wanted to spout off about politics, you had to write a letter to the editor or yell at the TV. Now, everyone's got a megaphone. That's given a voice to folks who might not have had one before, which is great in some ways. But it's also created echo chambers where people just hear what they already believe, and it's made it easier for misinformation to spread like wildfire through a dry Saskatchewan field. This accelerated polarization, amplified by algorithms designed to keep us glued to our screens, has softened the ground, making it fertile for some of these, let's say, less than Canadian political styles to take hold. The 2008 financial crisis also played a role. People lost their jobs, their homes, their faith in the system. That kind of economic insecurity breeds resentment, and resentment is a powerful motivator. When folks feel like the deck is stacked against them, they're more likely to listen to someone who promises to tear down the whole house and build something new, even if that someone is, shall we say, a bit of a loose cannon. Consequently, the seeds of discontent were sown long before Trump ever announced his candidacy. However, it's not just about internal factors. Globalization, while bringing benefits, has also created anxieties. The feeling that jobs are being shipped overseas, that our culture is being diluted by foreign influences, that we're losing control of our own destiny. These are all legitimate concerns that can be exploited by politicians who offer simple solutions to complex problems. Consider the trade deals that have been debated and renegotiated over the years. While economists might argue about the overall benefits, the impact on individual workers and communities can be devastating. So, while it's easy to point the finger at Trump as the sole cause of this perceived shift, the reality is far more nuanced. He may have been the catalyst, the spark that lit the fuse, but the conditions were already ripe for a change in the political climate. The key is recognizing these historical and societal factors so that we can better understand the challenges we face today. We can't just wish these problems away. We need to address the underlying issues that are fueling the discontent. Furthermore, if we ignore the historical precedents and the societal forces at play, we risk repeating the mistakes of the past. Right then, as we're heading towards the final buzzer here, Reflecting on this journey so far, it's clear that the political landscape ain't just some flat prairie anymore. It's got hills and valleys, twists and turns, and a whole lot of potholes you gotta watch out for. It's like navigating the Trans-Canada in winter. You gotta be prepared for anything, and you definitely can't just rely on your GPS. It's not about saying, oh, those Americans are doing this, so we're doomed. It's more like recognizing that the currents of global change are swirling around us, and we gotta be smart about how we navigate them. Think of it like this. We're all paddling in the same canoe, and if one side starts rocking the boat too much, everyone's gonna end up in the drink. So, how do we keep the canoe steady, How do we make sure everyone gets to the other side safely? What's become apparent is the way seemingly disparate ripples like stones tossed into a calm lake can converge to create a larger, more powerful wave. The echoes of past grievances, the clamor of the digital town square, the anxieties of a changing world, they all contribute to a climate where simplified narratives and strongman appeals can find fertile ground. It's not about assigning blame. It's about understanding the complex interplay of factors that are shaping our political reality. Consider the mosaic that is Canadian identity. It's always been a work in progress, a constant negotiation between different cultures, languages, and perspectives. But lately, it feels like some of the tiles are starting to crack, like the grout is crumbling. How do we reinforce that mosaic, How do we ensure that it remains a vibrant and inclusive reflection of who we are as a nation? Drawing these threads together, we see that the question isn't simply whether Trump culture is influencing Canadian politics. It's about how we, as Canadians, are responding to the challenges of a rapidly changing world. It's about whether we're willing to engage in thoughtful dialogue, to listen to different perspectives, and to find common ground. It's about whether we can resist the temptation to retreat into echo chambers and engage in divisive rhetoric. The path ahead, then, isn't about building walls or pointing fingers. It's about strengthening our own institutions, promoting media literacy, and fostering a culture of civic engagement. It's about reminding ourselves of the values that have always defined us as Canadians: tolerance, compassion, and a commitment to working together for the common good. It's about ensuring that our political discourse remains civil, respectful, and focused on the issues that matter most to us all. So, as we approach the final stretch, let's keep those values in mind and consider what we can each do to build a stronger, more united Canada. So, what's the takeaway from all this, John, eh? It ain't as simple as saying the Yanks are coming to steal our maple syrup and hockey dreams. It's more like recognizing that the world's getting smaller and the currents of change are swirling around us like a blizzard in January. We can't just hunker down and hope it all blows over. We gotta be smart about how we navigate these choppy waters, keep our wits about us, and remember what makes us, well, us. Think of Canada as a sturdy old cabin, built to withstand the harshest winters. We've got strong foundations, our institutions, our values, our sense of community. But even the sturdiest cabin needs regular maintenance. We gotta patch the cracks, reinforce the beams, and make sure the roof doesn't leak. And that's where we all come in. Being a good Canadian ain't just about waving the flag and singing "Oh Canada" at the hockey game. It's about actively participating in our democracy, holding our leaders accountable, and engaging in respectful dialogue, even when we disagree. The real danger ain't some foreign ideology corrupting our pristine Canadian soul. It's complacency. It's letting our guard down, assuming that our institutions are strong enough to withstand any storm. It's believing that we're somehow immune to the forces of polarization and division that are tearing other countries apart. That's a dangerous assumption, eh? We gotta remember that democracy is like a garden. It needs constant tending. Weeds will always try to sprout up, and if we don't pull them out, they'll choke the life out of the good plants. Those weeds can take many forms: misinformation, intolerance, apathy. It's up to us to cultivate a healthy political ecosystem, one where informed debate thrives, where diverse voices are heard, and where common ground is always within reach. Ultimately, the question isn't whether Trump culture is influencing Canadian politics. It's about what kind of Canada we want to build for ourselves and for future generations. Do we want to be a country where civility and reason prevail, where we can disagree without being disagreeable, where we can find common ground even in the midst of our differences? Or do we want to succumb to the forces of polarization and division, to let anger and resentment define our political discourse? The choice is ours, eh? And the true practice begins now. It starts with each of us, in our own communities, in our own conversations, in our own actions. It starts with a commitment to being informed, engaged, and respectful citizens. It starts with a willingness to listen to different perspectives, to challenge our own assumptions, and to work together for the common good. Let's keep the Canadian spirit alive, eh? Keep it strong, keep it kind, and keep it true. The future of our country depends on it.